At the dawn of the Ice Age, large mammals roamed the Earth in vast numbers. They enjoyed an abundant food supply and a world without boundaries. But by the end of the Ice Age, only 10,000 years ago, many great mammals had died out. The woolly mammoth, the dire wolf, the saber-toothed cat, and others disappeared as a result of severe climatic changes that engulfed the planet. And yet other animals persevered. Today, they go on in dwindling numbers as the last of the Ice Age survivors. Throughout the past 2.5 million years, the Earth has been gripped by several periods of extreme cold. During the most recent, which ended only 6,000 years before the rise of the Egyptian civilization, about a third of the Earth's surface was covered in ice. We call this the Ice Age. The Ice Age was the result of a combination of factors. The Earth's elliptical orbit had reached its farthest point from the Sun, an occurrence which happens about every 100,000 years. The added distance prevented the Sun's warming rays from melting the snow in summer. Snow began to accumulate, and over centuries, glaciers began to form. When they became big enough, they started to move. The enormous ice sheets that descended upon Canada and the northern United States are thought to have been as much as 2 miles thick. As they moved, they forced animals to move further and further south to survive. New York City would have been almost completely buried in ice. Most of North America's large mammals adapted to the extreme conditions, but they still face severe challenges in their struggle to survive. Horses of the Ice Age shared most of the same characteristics as today's horses. They digest their food in a way that enables them to live on relatively low-quality food, like grass, which has few nutrients. But they must eat large quantities to maintain their strength, and in winter, grass can be hard to find. At the end of the Ice Age, when the glaciers retreated and the climate changed, the native horses of North America vanished from the continent. But horses survived in Europe, and these in America today are their descendants, brought by the Spaniards during the colonization of the New World. They now carry the lineage of the great herds of wild horses that once roamed this land. Bison are among North America's most rugged and enduring large mammals. During the Ice Age, they adopted long hair for insulation against the bitter cold. But even today, many die each winter. Here in places like Yellowstone National Park, bison endure as they have for millions of years. During the Ice Age, there were several species of bison, one of which had horns that measured 7 feet from tip to tip and weighed almost 2,200 pounds. The horn is thought to have been ornamental, and today's bison horns are less impressive, at about 1.5 feet across. But today's bison have maintained most of their bulk, a feature which has its advantages. Large animals have a greater density that enables them to retain heat better than smaller animals. Another element of bison's success is their ability to find food in winter. A massive head makes a good plow for burrowing under the snow. And once uncovered, grassy patches are closely guarded. Bison originated in Eurasia and were among the last animals to cross into North America over the Bering Land Bridge that once linked Siberia and Alaska. Their success here was remarkable, at one time numbering 40 to 60 million. Rivers create their own microclimate. The flowing water can often be warmer than the air, allowing grass to grow along its mossy banks. The bison survived the Ice Age. Millions were killed during the 19th century expansion into the American West. The descendants of those who survived are but a mere fraction of the millions that once roamed this land. The ancestry of dogs can be traced back in North America more than 30 million years. One of the most enduring and recognizable members of the dog family is the coyote. Today's coyotes appear much the same as they did during the Ice Age, and have changed little over time. For the most part, they are opportunists, relying on small prey and carrion when available. But as during the Ice Age, when there's large game around, they form loosely organized hunting packs. Feeding order is determined through displays of dominance and submission. The alpha male of the group usually eats first, but because coyote packs are loosely organized, other members will try for anything they can get. Predators like the coyote help to maintain balance in the natural world. Each death permits the survival of another animal. Rivals often attempt to take over a kill, so this pack must constantly be on guard. Though this advance seems aggressive, it is actually a submissive posture, recognizable by the arched back and tail held between the legs. He sizes up his chances before taking any overt action. Today, as it was 10,000 years ago, the coyote's staple diet is mice. Blanketed with snow, Mice can be hard to catch. But sensitive ears detect even the slightest movement. Opportunities for food are few and far between in winter, and anything that moves is investigated. But these otters have their escape routes carefully planned, and the coyote can do little to catch them. Though the hardships of the Ice Age are past, the endless search for prey continues, often ending in frustration. North American elk migrated here in great numbers during the Ice Age. They are descendants of a Eurasian lineage that at one time included a giant elk with antlers that spanned over 10 feet. After the Ice Age, when warming climates caused other large herbivores to die out, elk expanded their range in North America and at one point numbered over 10 million, a population second only to the great bison herds. During the summer, males are mainly solitary. But in winter, they maintain bachelor groups whose members vary from day to day. In order to attract cows and defeat rival bulls, an elk must become large and powerful. The elk's antlers reflect this and are used as weapons to establish dominance. Though the antlers can cause severe damage, males rarely kill each other, as a fight to the death would expend more energy than it would be worth. Using their hooves to dig beneath a layer of snow, elk feed mainly on grass, shoots, twigs, and leaves. The ability to dig for food in this way was a benefit during the brutal winters of the Ice Age. Elk also feed in riverbeds, where the warm water supports an aquatic pasture. But this bull must remain constantly on the lookout for his age-old nemesis, the wolf and the grizzly bear. Females stay together throughout the year. As with all herd animals, the group provides security, since there are more eyes, ears, and noses to detect a stalking predator. In a nearby clearing, a young calf has become trapped in quicksand. It is a scene that has been played throughout history, and one which has provided us with our richest source of fossil remains. When predators like this coyote approach, they too can become trapped. Fossils obtained from scenarios like this have allowed us to reconstruct a remarkably detailed portrait of North America during the Ice Age. But there are many unanswered questions. What we do know is that about 10,000 years ago, global temperatures suddenly began to rise. As the Earth grew warmer, open prairies turned to forests, and plants that were once plentiful suddenly disappeared. Animals that relied on these plants were, in many cases, unable to adjust to the changes. At around the same time, the first human hunters arrived in North America. With many species like the woolly mammoth already weakened by environmental changes, it didn't take much for human hunters to finish them off. North America would never again sustain such a diverse and plentiful mammal population. The plains of Africa. The vast diversity of animals here is a living reminder of the world as it was before the Ice Age extinctions. Africa's geographical position protected most of its animals from the Arctic cold, permitting huge herds to migrate across its limitless terrain. Today, Africa is still the home of the world's most magnificent herds of large mammals. Elephants are the largest land mammals on Earth. During the Ice Age, they enjoyed the boundless resources Africa provided. Although they managed to survive the climatic changes at the end of the Ice Age, some of their distant relatives were less fortunate. Mammoths migrated throughout the world, but when the glaciers retreated and their food supply disappeared, so did the mammoths. Like the mammoths, today's elephants travel in large herds over enormous tracts of land. They require huge amounts of food, quantities that today's shrinking habitat can barely supply. Grasses, shrubs, and the bark from trees make up most of their diet. They chew their food with huge block-like teeth that regrow as they wear down. In order to reach and manipulate food, elephants evolved trunks. Though powerful enough to lift a whole tree, the trunk is also acutely sensitive to smell and touch. Stripping bark from trees and shrubs enables elephants to utilize a food source other animals can neither reach nor digest. As they did during the Ice Age, elephants travel great distances in search of water sources, capable of supplying each elephant with up to 20 gallons a day. Often following the same paths over time, elephant roads are carved through even the densest vegetation. Female elephants live in groups of 2 or 3 sisters and their infants. Mothers carry their young for 22 months and closely defend them through childhood. Elephant skin is highly sensitive, so they bathe frequently, followed by a powdering with dust to prevent parasites and disease. But dwindling food supplies and space still make it likely they will follow their Ice Age cousins into extinction. A group of African lions slumbers in the midday heat. They have not changed much over millions of years as they boast a design that has kept them on top of the food chain. But their distant Ice Age relative was not so lucky. During the Ice Age, saber-toothed cats used 6-inch serrated fangs to slash open their prey. But when their prey became extinct, so did the saber-tooth. Today's African lions retain the basic characteristics of their extinct relatives. But a tight social structure sets them apart from many of today's other cat species. Copulation serves a dual purpose as it also bonds members of the pride. Ovulation is induced by the act of mating, and pairs may copulate up to 30 times a day. The male dismounts quickly, since females sometimes become aggressive toward their partners. Litters average 3 or 4 cubs and enjoy a long period of parental care. Support comes from all the females in the group, lending a nursery-like atmosphere to the pride. Communal suckling is rare among mammals. Lions are one of the few whose females will actually nurse offspring other than their own. Lions have the largest brains and are the most social of all cats. 2 traits that today, as they did during the Ice Age, contribute immensely to their survival. Females do most of the hunting and will teach their young at an early age. Camouflage and stealth are the keys to a successful hunt. Lions succeed in the hunt only once in every 5 tries. But through trial and error, this mother will train her cubs as quickly as possible, so they can begin to fend for themselves. In isolated areas of the African plains, an animal endures today whose prehistoric appearance evokes the past. Like elephants and hippos, rhinos were far more abundant during the Ice Age. Millions of years ago, a rhino lived who was as slender and fast as a horse. Though today's are not quite as agile, they can still make an impressive charge when threatened. The name rhinoceros derives from the horn on the snout. Unlike bison and elk, whose horns have a bony core, the rhino's horns are made of tightly matted hair. Rhinos have poor vision and are unable to detect a moving object more than 100 feet away. Their eyes are placed on either side of the head, so in order to see forward, they must look with one eye and then the other. This trait, combined with their relatively small brain, causes them to be easily startled and has given them a reputation for unprovoked aggression. On average, rhinos live about 45 years, with females first giving birth at the age of 6 or 7. A single birth is the norm, and babies are relatively small, weighing only about 100 pounds, compared to the mother's 5,000. Though rhinos have survived for millions of years, they are now under grave threat from man. Today, the 5 living species of rhinos survive in dwindling numbers, but their long-term fate remains in question. Millions of years ago, hippos lived in forests and were much smaller than today's 3-ton average. But as forests gradually gave way to open plains, hippos moved out of the forest and into the water. By the time of the Ice Age, hippos had already acquired their unique skin structure. Because their skin dehydrates quickly, they spend most of the day in water, leaving only at night to feed in the grassy meadows nearby. They are slightly denser than water and can easily walk on the bottom of riverbeds for up to 5 minutes at a time. Their reliance on water is part of a trade-off from their past. When they moved from the forest to the lakes, they gained access to a greater food supply. But in so doing, they lost their sweat glands and are now forever tied to the water. Today's hippos are fully adapted to aquatic life, with eyes, ears, and nostrils placed on top of the head. By barely breaking the surface, they know everything about their surroundings. As their Ice Age ancestors did, dominant bulls maintain exclusive mating rights in their territories and defend them rigorously. Their razor-sharp lower canines are up to 20 inches long and can inflict severe damage. As evening approaches, groups begin to come ashore for feeding. They'll walk along their regular trails to their favorite pastures and may not return until morning. In a nearby lake, ancient predators defend their nests. Crocodile evolution spans more than 200 million years, qualifying them among the most enduring animals on the planet. During the dinosaur era, the largest known crocodile was over 35 feet long, with a 6-foot head and razor-sharp teeth. Today's crocs average about 16 feet, but they still possess many of the same traits as their predecessors. As they did here during the Ice Age, female crocs come ashore to lay their eggs. After about 3 months, the female uncovers the nest, allowing the eggs to hatch. To ensure their safety, she gently picks up each hatchling with her teeth and holds them in the pouch of her mouth. It was once believed that mothers ate their young, and it still seems a precarious situation for the youngster. Carrying as many newborn and unhatched eggs as she can, she makes her way back to the water. Here she will release the hatchlings and then gently crack open the remaining eggs by swishing them from side to side in her mouth. Just as they have done through countless generations, the remaining hatchlings on shore make their way down to the water's edge. They do so just in time, as the nest is now under attack by an army of ants. There are many other perils for young crocs and their mothers to face. A nest must be defended with vigilance if its eggs are going to survive. But today, as during the Ice Age, it is estimated that only 2% of all crocodile young make it to adulthood. The first few weeks of life are full of risk, and the young stand the best chance of surviving by staying close to mom. Leopards are among the most solitary and secretive members of the cat family. As they did during the Ice Age, they use camouflage and speed to ambush their prey. This one decides to wait for a better opportunity. Leopards maintain territories of up to 20 square miles. Because territories often overlap, they must be diligent about marking their turf. Leopards have adapted to a wider variety of habitats than any other wildcat. They spend much of their time in trees. Trees provide a good perch from which to search for prey or stage an ambush. And after a kill, trees make a good place to store prey out of the reach of scavengers. Adult males average about 130 pounds and can take down animals several times their own size. Between hunts, trees offer safety, allowing this leopard to doze in the late afternoon sun. In a nearby patch of open savanna, a pack of African wild dogs huddles around their young. They bear some unusual traits for mammals that have endured almost unchanged since long before the Ice Age. Instead of the females raising the young, it is the male dogs that take the lead in child rearing. Accordingly, males in the pack outnumber the females by 2 to 1. Pups are born blind in their den and don't emerge until they're about 3 weeks old. Of course, fathers can't do everything, and this mom must endure the demands of a litter full of hungry pups. It is usually only the dominant male and female that breed, and if another female in the pack were to produce a litter, it is likely this alpha female would kill the pups, and possibly even the mother. The mother decides that the pups have had enough, as she sees other duties calling. Through the ages, wild dogs have perfected the art of pack hunting and can bring down animals 5 times their size. They run at speeds up to 35 miles per hour, but like wolves, it is their team effort that makes them so successful. The pups are usually allowed to eat first. Wild dogs are exclusively meat eaters and have short, powerful jaws with an impressive array of shearing teeth. But they do not kill haphazardly. Each hunt preserves the balance of life on the African plains. After the dogs have had their fill, the vultures arrive to finish off the carcass. Nothing is left to waste in the wild, as meals are few and far between. Hyenas are one of the few animals that can digest bone, and thus fill a niche in the food chain that ensures nothing will be left behind. These pups are just beginning to learn their hunting skills and take this opportunity to practice the chase. Soon they'll be responsible for the pack's survival. But today, they enjoy the carefree pleasures of youth. As evening approaches, the adults create a perimeter around the den, where they will post guard through the night. Much as their ancestors have for millions of years, these adults have invested heavily in their pups. But as with all the animals that survived the Ice Age, their future remains uncertain. Although they don't know it now, the struggles these pups will face over disappearing land and dwindling supplies of food may ultimately lead to a struggle for their species' survival. Today, 10,000 years after the Ice Age, the Earth's climate continues to warm. Animals that lived through the Ice Age now face a far tougher test in the struggle for depleted resources in space. And now it is man, rather than nature, that determines who will survive.